it got to where it was natural. I mean, we fired so many missions over there on that New Jersey, and it got to be, you could do it in your sleep almost.
Wow.
But you had let's see, there was a pointer, a trainer, a mount captain, a two projectilemen, because you had two horse coming up. You had two projectilemen, and you had two powdermen, and so it took two guys to load each gun, and one trainer to do the pointing and training of it, and then you had the mount captain to in charge of everything.
Yeah. So your work was very much involved with providing fire support?
Yeah, that's all I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Where off of South Vietnam were you? Were you primarily up off the coast of
Up
I-Corps?
north, up north. Yeah,
Up in I-Corps?
yeah.
And so were you there in 68?
We got there and we had to put that ship back into commission after I got out of A school and found out they wasn't going to send me the boats. They sent me and the whole class up there to the New Jersey, and we went to California, and the boat was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And so we went to California and took all of our schooling and training out there for how to, they put us on destroyers, tin cans out there to train on while we were out there to learn the guns out there, the 5-inch guns. And then we had firefighting drills, and which is, real serious out at sea if you have a fire, and all that. So
Right.
we got all our training out there, and then they shipped us back to Philadelphia, and we started putting the ship back into commission. It was in the yards there, and we worked with we called them yard birds, and we worked with them. And I wasn't old enough to drink in Pennsylvania, so I just stayed up in the gun mount and worked all the time. And I had a good E5 and a good E6, and they told me, they said, "Man, don't you want to go in town?" And I said, "No, I just stay here and work." So I stayed and worked on the guns. Them guys, they just pretty well took care of me after we got overseas,
Mm.
and they were good. And one of the guys that was in my division on New Jersey, well, there was a lot of guys off the New Jersey actually went to Vietnam on the gunboats.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because see, after we left Vietnam, they brought the ship back to Long Beach, and they thought they were going to make another cruise, but they started decommissioning. Well, they were going to make a midshipman cruise, and then decommissioned it. So there was a lot of guys. In fact, one of my guys off New Jersey that I served with on there, he got killed in Vietnam in February on the boats.
So when you were aboard the New Jersey, then, do you remember roughly when it arrived the first time off the coast of South Vietnam?
It was after the Tet of '68, so it had to be the fall in September. Yeah, because Tet was the first of '68, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so it would have been that fall following that Tet.
Okay, I see. And how did that work? Were you off the coast of South Vietnam providing fire support for 3 months, and then you'd go back and maybe to Olongapo or Japan, something like that?
Yeah, it seemed like something like that because I know we went to Singapore at Christmas time because we crossed the equator going to Singapore, and we all got initiated. The ones that weren't shellbacks, we got initiated on the way to Singapore.
So tell me how it would go, like doing a fire mission aboard the USS New Jersey. So you're on the New Jersey. Um, how did it go? Would a call would come in and then you guys would run to the gun, or are you always manning when you're on watch? Are you always manning the gun?
Well, we had watches that we had to man, around, all the time,
Yeah.
or be around the gun mount all the time. But between midnight and daylight, we fired a lot of rounds because the decks were just covered up with the empty brass back there.
Yeah.
And I got a picture of a chief out there looking at the empty brass. But when when we went to general quarters, I wasn't on the gun mount, and they woke me up, and I ran, and you didn't. Somebody else was on my position, so I started out down in the handling room passing ammunition. But as the shooting lasted as long as it did, I wound up going to another position, and then I wound up back up in the gun mount on my regular position before it was over with. So I actually worked 2 or 3 different positions, and we all did till we worked back to where where we was all supposed to be at.
Yeah.
But there was a crew manning it when we started out, and I was asleep. I wasn't on watch, but them. By the time daylight got there, I was back up on my gun sometime during the night.
In a week, how many, just roughly, how many fire missions would be called into the New Jersey in a typical week?
Oh man, that's something I couldn't answer. I really don't. I remember us. For some reason, I got this in my mind, and it may not even be right.
Mhm.
I know that we had a Navy diver on board, and maybe it had more than that, but I know we had one because I was friends with him. And when those pilots would eject over the water out there, if they made it to the water and ejected,
Yeah.
we picked up some flyers out of the ocean. That was part of our job sometime, or giving cover while somebody else did it. But we were out there where they were picking up these pilots that ejected. And for some reason, I remember us, I think we sunk some junks up there, patrol boats, the North Vietnamese junks, coming down the coastline.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure about that. And I may be something I dreamed. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I seem like I remember we sunk some junks, and we fired a lot on some islands over there. They were, and I can't find them on the map, but we called one of them Cat Low, and the other one was Tiger Island. And the 16-inch and the 5-inch, it was off the coast of Vietnam, off to, like, if we were steaming north, it would be off on our starboard side, and then we'd turn around and the port side would shoot, but.
Wow.
So that was, but as far as the weeks, I'll be honest with you, everything just ran together. I don't remember now.
Right. And how long would a fire mission last? Would it be, like if there's such a thing as a typical fire mission, would it be 10, 15, 20 minutes, an hour?
I'll be honest with you. I couldn't give you an honest answer because I don't remember.
Yeah.
I know a spotter out there, or forward observer, or somebody, or a plane flying over. They would call it into the fire direction, and they'd set the mission up, and then they'd coordinate all the coordinates and everything, and we just start shooting. So I'll be honest with you. I couldn't give you a timeline. I don't know.
Do you remember ever getting reports back on the effectiveness of the fire support?
Yeah, sometimes those pilots or spotters would call back and let the ship know what we had done,
Yeah.
And the one that I really remember, there were some guys laying on a bunker, and they called in for some rounds, and he said, well, took care of the guys out there laying on top of the bunker snoozing, and
They were NVA.
Yeah, we were up north, so I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure, but I figured they were. And but yeah, just bits and pieces of information. I mean, it wasn't nothing we dwelled on, and we got shot at. We were close to shore one day, and I just got through eating shower, and when it was in daytime, I went out on the deck, smoked a cigarette, and all of a sudden there was a splash out on the port side. The round had come over the ship and landed on our port side, right pretty close to where I was at.
Wow.
And I said, wow, what was that? And I got up and I was looking, and then I heard them. They sounded GQ, and come to find out they had fired one round that had landed over on the starboard side, and then the round went over they were bracketing the ship. What they were doing, they had fired one short, one long, and then but before they could fire that third round, they done whoever was on watch took the guns out over there,
Oh, so the
So,
ship returned fire.
oh yeah.
Wow.
I think they fired at Jersey a couple of times, and
How many tours did you do? Do you remember how many tours you did off the coast of South Vietnam on the New Jersey?
I was just when we were in the area, we just cruised back and forth up and down through there, And
Okay. And was that 3 months or something like that?
I think they called the tour a 6-month tour, but how long we were on station and how long we were off, because I don't think we stayed in the Longapo maybe long enough to rearm and uh, uh, maybe pick up fresh chow or something, fresh supplies for the.
Right.
Because I know a lot of times they just highline stuff over to us, or
Mm-hmm.
from another ship, or refuel
Right.
like that out at sea. But we went to, I don't even know why we went to Singapore. I don't know. I mean, I had a good time while I was there, but we didn't stay very long. And
Right.
in Yokosuka, I'm sure we were probably getting something worked on while we were there.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it was
So,
always cold I think we went there a couple of times, so it was cold when we were there.
so aboard the New Jersey, then the ship is just going up and down the coast, or at least up and down the area of South Vietnam where you're just kind of out there patrolling, just waiting for fire missions to come in, basically. That's the basic job.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as what I knew about it anyway,
Mhm. If the service aboard the New Jersey was the only service you had in Vietnam, of course, you do go down to the Delta and you experience a very different aspect of the war down in the Delta. But if what you experienced on the New Jersey, if that was your only Vietnam experience, what would the Vietnam War look like to you, or what did the Vietnam War look like from that perspective of being a gunner on the USS New Jersey?
I I didn't really. I had a lot of good friends on New Jersey because most of them I went to gunnery school with them up at Great Lakes,
Yeah.
And it was a good crew on there, and I really enjoyed it. But it was more spit and polish than I would, and it wasn't really a spit and polish type ship, but it was more so than what I wanted, and I really wanted to go to Vietnam, and I wanted to, and I put in five. I kept putting in chits after chits, and I was not getting any response from them. And I mean, after we were on our way back,
Yeah.
and I knew we'd already done our tour, and I didn't want to do another tour on the ship. And one of the guys, that guy Lucas I was talking about, he had a brother killed. He kept trying to go to Vietnam in country because he didn't want his brother to have to go. But while we were over there, his brother, or while he was on New Jersey, his brother got sent to the army and he got killed over there. So old Luke, he was wanting to really go bad. So he was an E5 up for E6 at that time. So I was in their little place birthing area one day, and me and him he always smoked cigars, and I was sitting there, and me and him were talking. He said, they ain't gonna send you on the boats, and he said you might as well quit putting them chits in. And I said, why? He said, because they're just shit canning them. They said, as soon as you turn them in, they're not approving them. And I said, man, that ain't right. They need to put them. Well, anyway, he said, go talk to the E6. And I was good friends with him. And I went over there, and he said, well, I'll tell you why you're not going to get it. He said, you were trained. They spent money on you on the 5-inch 38s, and you ain't trained on a 50 caliber. And he said, we're not going to send you. But anyway,
Wow.
we got back to the States, and a lot of those senior officers and stuff, they went on their leave time. And I was stuck out in Long Beach, and we had a new Lieutenant JG over our division.
Yeah.
And I told a lie. I went in there and I told him, I said, I've been informed that my chits are not going through. And I said, I'm from Mississippi and I'm fixing to go back. And I said, have you ever heard of John Stennis? And he said, he's in politics, isn't he? I said, yeah. He congressman, senator, or something. And so I told that young guy, he wasn't, I don't know, he wasn't very old at all. I said, look, I said, he's a personal friend of my family. And when I'm going on leave right here in a couple of weeks, and when I get back, we're going to talk to that senator down there. He was an old senator and a congressman or something. And of course, you didn't know him from man to moon. But anyway, I made up that story. And so while I was home on leave for 2 weeks, my regular junior officer was back off his leave, and he sent me a registered letter, and I can still remember what it said. It said, "Here, it looks like you got what you wanted."